So to recap, in this third section, motivation and dopamine addiction are linked to each other, and the personal growth industry is marketing and selling, rather like any other industry which deals with addictive substances. It's marketing and selling motivation to people who have managed to convince themselves that they can get the fix from the feel-good that they get. The feel-good and the dopamine hit are not the same as an actual solution, but this can become very habit-forming. And as I've said previously, you may start small, just buying books. You may graduate to courses, workshops, retreats, and finally a 4-day extravaganza. You may end up in some kind of very expensive subscription process, whereby you are now not only addicted to the feel-good factor, you are now literally tied in, and you're financing somebody else's lifestyle because of your addiction to motivation. Managing to convince yourself that you're doing the work, but you're not. You're just feeding the monkey on your back. Dopamine is a neuromodulator, and what it does is that it floods the brain with a certain feel-good sensation, and it rewards the brain for expectation. It likes novelty, it likes excitement, it likes stimulus. Its manufacture in the brain is reliant on the stimulation that we get from novelty and newness, excitement. Well, what better way to create and fabricate novelty, newness, and excitement than by experiencing motivation? Motivation is a flash in the pan emotion, but it gets its reward from your own brain because of the dopamine that is stimulated by the desire for and expectation of some kind of reward. So by definition, they are vulnerable to people who are prepared to fulfill that market need. Does this make people in the personal development industry evil? No, I don't think it does. I actually think that they are driven with a desire to do good. And it doesn't hurt that their drive to do good is also very lucrative. If you were selling pharmaceuticals, or legal or illegal drugs, or if you were selling caffeine or nicotine, liquor, pornography, you name it. If you were selling any other kind of substance which relies heavily on dopamine creation, people would look at you with some suspicion. What I'm suggesting is that the motivation mill and the dopamine addiction, which work together hand in hand, and the addictive cycle that it creates, can inadvertently or purposefully create lost people who are willing to part with large sums of money because they haven't grasped a basic. And the basic is there is no quick fix. The basic is that real work needs to be done in order to really get better results. Not motivation, not dopamine hits, not flash in the pan, silver bullet, golden key moments. No, what is required is system and work. We have to replace novelty and the desire for excitement and stimulus with something a little bit more boring. We have to do the opposite. We have to replace the drive for the aha moment, and we have to replace it with solid, head down, working hard, systematic progress. So let's look at that next. Let's look at the antidote to the motivation mill and the dopamine mill and the addiction cycle. I'm not suggesting it's a mental illness, but I will suggest that it is a form of dysfunction. The problem you're going to face is that dopamine addiction requires your physiology and your mind to punish you in order to bring you back down to a sense of stability or homeostasis. The problem there being that if you get your kicks with motivation and you get your dopamine hits, it's going to follow or be followed with some sense of depression or anticlimax. When you wake up and realize that the motivation you experienced wasn't the answer. And then, as all good addicts do, you'll go and seek your next fix. And eventually your tolerance to the fix will become so good and so high that you're going to look for something meaner, something harder. And of course, the 4-day expo, which you pay lots of money for, maybe travel to a different country or state to attend, spend lots of money at hotels, convince yourself that your new community are your new best friends. There's a feel-good dopamine rush that comes with all of that. Well, that wasn't a one-step process. Getting there was a 24, 36, 48, whatever process by people who start small, finding small fixes for their problems, until eventually they have to go for the Class A drug, which is something like a 4-day expo. And of course, the best outcome of all would be to meet their Messiah, the person that they've invested so much of their time, effort, energy, and desire into, all in the name of dopamine addiction. So we have to lower our dependence. We have to take a 28-day break. Get into rehab. If you think about rehabilitate, it's like to fix yourself again, to bring yourself back to life. Your brain needs roughly a month to release itself from the dopamine grip of any given addiction. And if your dopamine hit is from getting fake feel-goods from personal development, maybe it's time just to sit back, take stock, stop consuming the stuff, get your journal out, and take a bit of time out and have a think. Which is good advice any day of the week, let's not deny it. Systems are the antidote. If dopamine relies on novelty, excitement, and stimuli, if dopamine relies on all of those irrational, emotional things, then the answer is to do the opposite of those things. Get yourself into a more organized and cohesive frame of mind. Start to calendarize your days, schedule yourself, get better sleep, wake up with your plans and your goals intact. And instead of waiting for some beneficent angel to come swooping down, some motivation fairy to rescue you, because you're just going to take bigger and bigger hits in order to feel normal, instead of relying on that, start relying on systems that you can use in order to get your life operating on a more systematic level. What you're doing is you're outsourcing your anxieties, because if you put yourself into a calendar and you schedule your time, And you link it to your phone perhaps, and it tells you what you need to be doing at any given time. Keep a journal, bullet point things. If you do those things, you're going to be outsourcing your anxiety by creating a set of instructions for yourself on a daily basis. And all you have to do is follow the instructions. That, my friend, is called a system. And then what you're going to do by using your time wisely and scheduling yourself and developing a system which is going to work for you, you're going to reject a lot of those addictive behaviors, that desire for excitement, novelty, and silver bullets. Let systems take up the slack. Let them do the heavy lifting. Instead of waking up each day trying to reinvent the wheel and creating anxiety for yourself, which only can be solved by some kind of, motivation fix, some kind of dopamine hit. Turn your back on that. Set your alarm, use your calendar, set goals, follow them. Reject motivation, see it for what it is. It's a myth. But it's a useful myth because it keeps the dopamine coming. And the more dopamine you have in your system, the more vulnerable you are going to be to people who wish to exploit your loss, or your sense of loss, or your lack of direction. And by definition, you will lack direction, because if you're a dopamine junkie, you're only going to be working on the basis of the next exciting, spontaneous change. So, get predictable, get boring, get systems. And here endeth my longer form rant for this week. I'd like to leave you with one thought, if I may. Whatever it is you dare to do or dare to dream, begin it now.